Hello, this is Amber Willenberg from the U of L Libraries, and in this video, we're going to talk about developing a search strategy and using that search strategy to find sources for your senior research paper. This assignment requires you to incorporate a minimum of 6 to 8 sources, most of which must be scholarly, academic sources from library databases. Before we begin strategizing and searching for sources, let's first talk about what a scholarly source is. Let's take a look at this article, Effectiveness of Learning in Online Academic Courses Compared with Face-to-Face Courses in Higher Education. This is a scholarly source, also called an academic source or a peer-reviewed source. But how do we know this? First of all, we can read the abstract to see that this article is about a study that compared the effectiveness of 3 online courses with the effectiveness of those same courses in a face-to-face format. In other words, the purpose of this article is to present research on student learning in online versus face-to-face courses. This is a key feature of academic articles. They add new knowledge to an ongoing scholarly conversation. In this case, a larger conversation about the effectiveness of online learning through research. Next, we can see that the authors are associated with the School of Education at Tel Aviv University. Academic articles are most often written by professional scholars associated with a college or university. You can see that this article was published in the Journal of Computer Assisted Learning. If we Google this title, we can easily find out that this is a peer-reviewed journal, meaning articles published in this journal undergo a formal review process involving other scholars reading and responding to the work. Finally, if we scroll to the end of this article, we'll find an extensive bibliography with pages of citations. Academic articles are written as part of a larger scholarly conversation on a topic, and the bibliography shows how the authors have situated themselves within that conversation. By citing scholarly sources like this in your own research, you're participating in the scholarly conversation as well. Now that we have an understanding of the characteristics of scholarly sources, we can talk about finding them. The library is the best place to find scholarly sources. These types of sources are expensive, and the tuition dollars of U of L students help pay for the library to provide access to them. While you might be able to find some academic sources on Google, you'll often run into a paywall and not be able to read the whole article for free. Another issue with searching for peer-reviewed sources on Google is that you'll probably get millions of results for your search and have a hard time narrowing the results down to the kinds of high-quality academic sources that your teachers and professors require you to find. In library databases, your searches will return fewer results, but the results have been curated by humans who decided that these sources are useful for students and professors conducting academic research. However, because library databases are more specialized, it's helpful to develop a strategy before we begin searching. Let's say that we've decided to research the effectiveness of online learning for college students for our senior research paper. If we were using Google to do our research, we could simply search for our research question, "Is online learning effective for college students?" to get results. In library databases, though, we'll search using keywords, the most important words from our research question. In this case, online learning, effectiveness, and college students are the most important words from our question. We don't just want to stop there, though. It can be helpful to think about ways of broadening and narrowing this question with our keywords so we have options once we start searching. For online learning, we could also think of keywords like online courses, distance learning, and remote learning. For effectiveness, we could think of specific measures of effectiveness like GPA, student engagement, and student learning, and add these to our list of keywords. For college students, we might write down specific populations we're interested in, like undergraduates or freshmen. Brainstorm as many keywords as you can. Having more keywords gives you more options for your search, so you don't get overwhelmed or stuck when you start searching. Now that we have a list of keywords to help us search in library databases, we need to think about subject areas. The library's resources are organized around academic subject areas, so you need to think about what subject areas might be relevant to your research topic. What kinds of researchers are writing about college students and the effectiveness of online learning? We might think of education and psychology and add these to our list. Once you've developed your search strategy with your research question, keywords, and subject areas, you can begin using that strategy to find sources through the library. Let's get started on the library homepage, library.louisville.edu. Since you're probably off campus right now, one helpful thing you can do right away on this page is go to Accounts at the top right and click Off Campus Login. Enter your Ulink ID and password here so that you don't have to log in later when you start finding articles. The best place to get started finding scholarly articles is our subject guides on the left side of the page under Quick Tools. These subject guides divide up library databases by subject area, making it easier for you to find the most relevant resources for your research topic. Remember, one of the subject areas I identified for my research question on college students and online learning was education. So we can click on the Education subject guide and find a handful of the very best databases where we can search for academic articles in the field of education. A database is simply a searchable collection of thousands of sources, most of them academic articles. I could click on one of these education databases and start searching, but since you're all researching a wide variety of topics for your senior research paper, I'm going to go to our Any Topic Guide to find databases where you can search for research on any topic. The first recommended database here is Ebsco Academic Search Complete, a multidisciplinary database that covers a wide variety of subject areas, including education. Most of you will be able to get started finding scholarly articles for your research paper in this database, but feel free to search in other subject-specific databases as well. In Ebsco Academic, one of the first things you'll notice is that there are multiple search boxes at the top of the page. This is why we developed our search strategy with a list of keywords. We'll enter one keyword per box. Let's try some searches. First, we'll put college students in the first box and online learning in the second. This search gave us over 2,000 results. While this is not a lot compared to Google, it's a lot for a library database. But remember, we've already brainstormed several keywords, so we can easily narrow our search down by changing or adding a keyword to make our search more specific. Let's add GPA as a third keyword. We now have just 20 results that are specifically about the GPA of college students involved in online learning. While we need to look through the results to see if they appear to be what we're looking for, this is much better than the thousands of results we had before. Just keep in mind that you will probably have to try out several searches with different combinations of your keywords to get the best results. As you look through your list of results, keep an eye on what types of sources you're looking at. Since you need to find mostly scholarly articles for your research, you'll want to make sure that you're looking at sources labeled as academic journal articles. Most of the results in Ebsco Academic and other library databases will be academic journal articles, but you might also see some non-scholarly sources like newspapers and magazine articles that you could include in your research as well. Let's go ahead and click on an article that seems interesting. One thing to notice is the abstract. Always read the abstract because it will give you a quick overview of the whole article, helping you determine if it's useful for your research before you read the whole thing. Another helpful tool here is the Cite button. Click this to get the MLA citation for the article, which you can copy and paste into your works cited. Just be sure to check over the citation and make sure everything is correct. If you decide you want to save this article to read later, there are a couple of options you can choose from. First, you can see if there is a PDF of the article available on the left side of the screen. If so, feel free to save that directly to your computer. Another option is to use the email tool on the right side of the screen to send yourself the article. If there is no PDF, you can click on Find It at U of L to see if we own the article or if you need to request a copy of it. When you click Find It, you'll either see a View Full Text link, which will take you to the article, or a button that says Request Item through Interlibrary Loan. If you see the Request button, that just means we don't own the article, but we will request a copy for you from another school. So just click that button and fill out the form to place a request, and we'll send you the PDF of the article, usually within a few days. If you ever have any questions while conducting research, U of L librarians are here to help. You can chat with a librarian Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 right from the library homepage, or click Ask a Librarian to find more ways to get in contact with us. You can even schedule a virtual one-on-one research appointment with a librarian for in-depth research help. Thanks!